Welcome into the Daily Roto Sharks podcast, getting set for the main slate on Wednesday. Jeremy Conn here. You can get me on Twitter at Jeremy Conn 1057. I'm here with the Bonder brand, Mr. Dong Detector himself. Scotty, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, man. So, we were just talking off the air. Dong Detector had a couple on, what was that, Monday, and then you had a couple more today. So you're on a bit of a heater here.
Yeah, I try my best to try to lock into those guys that are hitting well and obviously pitching matchups and all that stuff. So, but yeah, doing pretty well. Thanks.
All right, let's not waste any time. We'll dive right in. The Colorado Rockies have been red hot. Bats are lighting it up. They're at the Philadelphia Phillies. It's Jeremy Hellickson against Tyler Chatwood. Vegas has an implied run total of 4.3 for the Rockies, and for the Phillies, it's 4.2. I'm not necessarily interested in either pitcher in this matchup, just my opinion. It's virtually a pick'em game. I know Hellickson's very capable of coming out and shutting down lineups, but I don't want to be the guy betting on that because it's just, especially with the way the Rockies are hitting as well. I'm sure you might like some bats on the Rockies side. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, the main guy I'm looking at is Charlie Blackmon. Obviously hit 2 home runs tonight. He's been in my Dong Detector a couple of times, and I mean he's been on fire. I mean, so if you're going to build something on that one-off on that team, it's definitely Charlie Blackmon. I like the Chatwood's a ground ball pitcher, so I'm not going to look at anyone in the Phillies. But that's pretty much only Charlie Blackmon interests me in this game.
All right, let's slide on to the Royals and the Yankees. Yankees are heavy favorites, about a 180 favorite. It's Luis Severino. And he's a guy that I know a lot of people have been targeting. We've talked about him a ton. I like him, and I think it's a pretty good spot to go up against this Royals lineup. Royals lineup implied run total is 3.6. It's Jason Hamill, and if you've been wanting to use the Yankees in your lineup, you've been waiting for a right-hander, especially a guy that can be a fly ball guy, to get some of those lefty bats going for the Yankees. I will definitely stay away from Hamels as far as the pitching side of it goes. Interested in Severino. The implied run total for the Yankees, by the way, is 5. Lefty bats in that lineup. Brett Gardner, we were just talking about him on the podcast last night, didn't have any home runs on April 29th, and I think now he has 9. So he was swinging a sweet stick. You like the lefties with the Yankees?
Yeah, you always got to take the bats in Yankee Stadium, especially the lefties. The one thing that kind of irks me, at 66 degrees in New York, the wind's blowing in, but Jason Hamill's given up 2 home runs the last 2 games he's pitched. So guys like Judge are going to be able to knock it out of the park with their power. Sanchez, definitely looking at a Yankee stack. And then his pitching wise, you mentioned Severino. I mean, he's been night and day sometimes, but he's going to generate a lot of strikeouts on that Kansas City team who didn't look good tonight against Montgomery. So
yeah, I feel kind of cheated because last night, as we always do, we play the game at the end, and both of my batters end up getting the night off. I had Carlos Correa and Gary Sanchez, and I'm going, what the hell happened? But I've been waiting for this Yankees lineup to bust out and actually have a big day. And I thought with Danny Duffy, a guy that shut him down last time, I thought it'd be a little contrarian to go with him, this past night. But obviously things didn't quite work out. But let's move on to the next game and try to look at some of these lineups that are going to be intriguing. And in your neck of the woods, it's the Washington Nationals. We've had rain here in the D.C. area, but they've got all the games in. It's been no issue. I don't know how affected you guys there. It looks like Tanner Roark and the Nats have an implied run total of 5. For Seattle, Sam Gaviglio, I guess that's how you pronounce his name. No idea who this cat is.
Yep.
Implied run total 4.1 for the Mariners. If you know anything about him, please tell me. But if there's a different pitcher, this is the debate we've had where sometimes you get a guy listed and it's not actually the guy. The wind's blowing in. The Nats are a 150 favorite in the game.
Yeah, I mean, this kid is a rookie, the Gavarino. They did say he's pitching today against Tanner Roark. Roark obviously is a ground ball guy too. He hasn't looked good in those last couple outings, so I mean, you could take some bats. Cano's back in the lineup. Cruz is always an individual that can take a yard. The wind is blowing in at 13 miles per hour, and it is 62 degrees in the DC area, so. It's not a great Harris Park. One guy that sticks out all the time for me is Daniel Murphy. He's under 4K, so I mean, if I'm gonna take a one-off in that game, I mean Harper obviously you're gonna pay up for him if you're gonna pay up for him, but those are the guys I'm looking at: Cruz, Cano, Murphy, Harper. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were on Seager tonight, and it didn't really work out. It looked like a good matchup against the Nats and Ross, but these lefty bats and somewhat of an unknown with a rookie. And it seems like the Nats lineup better than I do, but patient hitters as well, not coming out just hacking at everything. And with these young pitchers, if they start nibbling, you're going to get in the hitters counts and could end up being a good day.
Yep, we had a big game today against a young kid too. So
yep. Let's move on. Mets and Padres. We got Robert Gsellman for the Mets, 4.7 runs. Gesselman, I've heard it pronounced both ways. Jared Cozart for the Padres. Padres with a 3.9 implied run total. The Mets are basically a 150 favorite. I know a lot of people were excited, Ben included, that the Mets started lighting it up early today, getting you a bunch of runs, and it seemed like it was coming in bunches there against this Padres lineup. And a guy in Chacin who many people were targeting last week. He was coming off a great outing, but he got absolutely shellacked. I was telling you that I got kind of put on the Padres this past night, and it wasn't horrible. I end up getting a homer from Schimpf, and that can happen at any given moment. Will Myers' bat has kind of cooled down. Where are you sitting with the bats here?
Schimpf is a guy that he's just like a Joey Gallo. He either hits a home run or he's going to strike out. So he's facing another right-hander tonight. With I think his name is Galsman. Is that how you say it? Or Gsellman?
I've heard it Gsellman or Gisselman. Yeah.
Well, regardless, he hasn't looked really really good this last couple outings. He hasn't lasted too long. I know he got injured one game and he's given up a couple home runs early on in the season. So. Schimpf is playing. Sometimes you get him at second base, sometimes you get him at third base, but he might be a nice guy to plug in on FanDuel. He's at second base, nice cheap owned guy. The guy in the Mets lineup, I've been playing him almost every year, or every day is Conforto, especially leading off. I mean, he went double dong today. I had him in my lineups. Jay Bruce got hurt today, so you might have a different. Lagares is going to probably be in there for them. I'm showing Jay Bruce in it now. But this Mets lineup it's always exciting because it's hit or miss. They're home runs or they're nickel and diming it. So I mean, there's really not too many pitchers or too many bats on the San Diego side besides Schimpf that I mentioned. So
all right, let's look at what's going to be the heavy chalk. Obviously, with pitching, anytime Sale's on the bump, that's how it's going to be. I mean, the Red Sox are a 250 favorite against the Rangers team. And you look at some of the lefty bats you typically like in the Rangers lineup, you almost feel like it gets nullified with Sale. He does have the tendency every once in a while to let somebody pop one out of the yard. I think Scherzer's like that as well. But other than that, I mean, you're looking at possible double-digit strikeouts with him. The Red Sox also have an implied run total of 5.4 runs. We've talked about Martin Perez for the Rangers before. Rangers only with a 3.2 implied run total, according to Vegas. But Perez is a guy that even when you're nickel and diming him, you're single, double, whatever, he has a tendency to get the ground ball and get the double play, which can put people on tilt. Obviously you're looking at Sale, but, these Red Sox bats, they heated up this past night. It looks like they're getting going a little bit. Where are you looking here? Are you going back to the well with Sale, and are you staying away from the Rangers bats?
Well, I always like to play the one guy that has the best BDP, or at least typically hits left-handers well, which is Napoli. Napoli doesn't have a great batting average, but he's taken Sale deep at least one time in his career. In that ballpark, it's a nice right-hander ballpark. Left-handers are one of the worst hitters in that ballpark. But a righty in that ballpark, Sale throws the ball right over the plate. I mean, you never know with a one-off with Napoli. It's going to be low-owned. With the Boston Red Sox tonight, they're frustrating as heck, but they somehow generate some runs. With Betts leading off, Pedroia, and obviously Xander. Nintendo, whatever that people call him, Benintendi. He's been cooled off. I mean, even going against left-hander, he might still be in the lineup. He was batting fourth again today. So, Chris Young is your typical left-hander killer for the Red Sox. So, he only has 2 home runs. He double-donged one game, and he hasn't hit a home run since. But yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if seeing him hit a home run tomorrow. Wind's bad again in that game. It's 6 miles blowing in, and it's 59 degrees in Boston. So it might be a perfect game for Sale. Not a perfect game, but a perfect pitching condition game.
Yeah, and with it, you look at a lot of teams. I didn't check to see if they were playing 4 days because there's an early slate for tomorrow as well. And getaway day, sometimes you'll get some goofy lineups. Teams are trying to get out of town and guys getting days off. And if there's a day off tomorrow, you might want to try to back it up with a double. And with Chris Sale in the lineup, some of those lefties might come down with something. Hey, Skip, I'm not feeling so well today, so that happens from time to time.
Yeah.
On to the Angels where, Mike Trout was on fire, and I picked him the other night, and I cooled him right off. He didn't do anything. I had a great lineup, and as cheap as my lineup was, I could fit Trout in there, so I threw him in. He didn't do anything, so I got off him tonight. He went back to the well. He homered in the first inning.
Yep.
Angels at the Rays. Ricky Nolasco is a guy that I know a lot of people are going to attack. The Angels have a 4.2 implied run total. The Rays are at 4.4 runs. It's Erasmo Ramirez. I actually kind of like Erasmo Ramirez. If you're playing on DK, obviously you can, as an SP2, if you're trying to fit in Sale, that might be the double up that you see a lot of people doing because he's cheap. The big question is, does he get you 6 innings? Does he get you 5 innings? Can he get you some Ks? The Angels lineup doesn't strike out a ton. But I'm interested to get your thoughts on the lefties from Tampa Bay, of course. Corey Dickerson's been on fire as well. And with a guy like Nolasco, is this a spot where maybe you target some Rays left-handed bats?
In Nolasco, if you're playing DraftKings, he's an interesting number 2 pitcher. And the reason why I say that is one, they're going to strike out a lot in Tampa Bay. So it's a pretty common thing to attack the teams that strike out a lot. And Nolasco is going to give up home runs, but that's pretty much what all he does. I mean, he may give up two home runs a game, but he's still going to pitch 7 innings. He's going to generate strikes. So Nolasco might be a low owned, and people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to play this guy, but he might be a sneaky, SP2 if you're going to tag him up with Sale. But you're right, Dickerson, Kiermaier, Longoria, Morrison. I mean, these guys all can go deep, but they're all going to be striking out. The guy that's been on fire besides Mike Trout on the Angels is Cameron Maybin. He went deep, obviously, today. Ramirez has been pretty decent this year. He's always one guy you think that you want to target, but he hasn't been getting up any home runs. So he's pitched against the Yankees and the Red Sox and and the Blue Jays early on in the year in the relief. So it's an interesting game, but if you looking at maybe your DraftKings number 2 might be coming out of this game as far as your pitcher. Because I don't
just because of the savings, right? I mean, everybody's going to try to fit Sale in there, and it's just it's one of those things trying to find that cheaper one so you can fit some bats in as well. And sometimes people get a little too cute.
Yeah, he's actually I mean, Nolasco's in a good position. I don't think he's going to be low on.
I wanted to go back real quick to the Boston game and Sale because something we talked about last night was what FanDuel had been doing when Kershaw pitches, making everybody 15, 16, or 1,700 on the opposing team. I mean, tonight you're looking at Dexter Fowler, I think at 1,600. The previous game, you could have got Buster Posey or Eduardo Nunez, 1,500. I know, look, Clayton Kershaw is easily one of the best pitchers in baseball. You can put him number 1 if you want. I'm fine with that. But Chris Sale he's no slouch either. I'm not saying they should do that, but what are your thoughts on what they're doing? Do you like it? Think it's weird?
Was Kershaw 12,000 only? How much was he? I know Greinke was 12,000.
Like 12 something.
Yeah, because Sale is at 13.5 tomorrow on DraftKings, and all the Ranger bats are where they should be normally. Based off matchup regardless. So, I don't like that. I mean, they were just trying to entice people to go with the Cardinals. I don't even know what the score is right now, but I'd imagine if you did play all the Cardinals and obviously it worked out in your favor. A lot of the double dongs tonight, they were low owned. I'd imagine it even worked out to people to even help them out. But I don't like that because it just changes off your algorithm and changes your thoughts, and you're going to be more enticed to play a guy like Dexter Fowler, who had that weird BVP that was back in 2013 where he was hitting singles back when he was playing for Houston and Colorado. So
yeah. But
long story short, I don't like it. So
let's go to the Braves game, and what do you know? More rain in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Feels like it's every day. In the Atlanta game today, I didn't see if it got postponed or if they're going to remake it as part of how they're going to fix it, but I can't imagine they're still waiting around to play right now.
I think they were actually.
Were they really? I mean, it's 12:30 on the East Coast right now as we're talking. That's crazy. Julio Teheran and Trevor Williams is the matchup here. The Braves are a small favorite in tomorrow's game, but Pirates with an implied run total of 4.3 runs. The Braves at 4.8. lo and behold, I feel like I'm the kiss of death for a lot of these guys. I was on Matt Adams, fit him into the lineup, was talking about him, got off him, and now he's hit a couple home runs for the Braves.
Yeah.
Where do you sit with? Because Tehran's an interesting one because he's a guy that last year I loved targeting, or actually a couple years ago he was a guy that would go after, and then he had a really bad year last year, and then coming back this year, you were kind of like, all right, I'm waiting for it, and you see some lineups and figure you'd have the K upside. He's been awful, and I don't know that that's a guy that I'm going to play. Maybe you like him a little bit more than I do, and it's been tough with the Pirates bats as well, trying to find the right go-to guy. I mean, Josh Bell in a one-off, he has the pop. I don't know if I trust Kutch right now. He hasn't been hitting the ball that well. A lot of people like Adam Frazier at the top of the lineup. Anything on either side of this game intriguing you?
Well, it's exciting to know that Julio Teheran was not taken into consideration when they built that stadium. It was obviously Freddie Freeman's idea to have that nice left-handed porch, because Teheran has given up 8 home runs in that ballpark since the beginning of the season. So if you have Teheran pitching in Atlanta, I would advise, based off the trend, that you don't pitch him, because he can't limit the left-handed power in that stadium. The Blue Jays hit 3 home runs off of him gave up 9 runs last outing. So guys I had on I was talking about before the pod, guys I'm usually around the day before, the day after on my dawn detector, and the number one guy I had today was Josh Bell. He had a good game. He had a couple of doubles today, a couple RBIs. So Josh Bell, and you mentioned it, Adam Frazier to be at the top of the lineup, especially the fact that he's a second baseman or outfielder, dual eligible in DraftKings, make an interesting lineup based off of those two guys. Tyler Flowers is a guy I always look at catcher whenever he's playing. Trevor Williams is a nice fly ball pitcher. The wind is blowing out 9 miles an hour to left field. Again, you don't know how much this weather is going to affect the pitching. You might get another game where you're breaking up, and then the relief pitchers come in there, and it changes everything, because it may factor in your left-handers might be looking good at the beginning of the game, but it might be a right-hander that has the power at the end. So.
Well, all right. Well, let's move on to the next game, and let me tell you, we got wind in Chicago, but this time it's actually blowing in at 17 miles an hour. So it'll be something to watch the weather, see if anything changes there. It's the Giants and Cubbies. Kyle Hendricks taking on Matt Moore. Matt Moore's somewhat intriguing to me in some GPPs, but you tell me why I'm crazy. And this Giants lineup, I know you had Brandon Belton, the dong detector, the other day. Tough to kind of take anybody from this game. I mean, you're really going to have to, if the wind is really blowing in that much, you're really going to have to get a hold of one at the right time to make it work. But either one of these pitchers interest you, or where are you looking at bats?
Yeah, I usually try to target Moore when he's playing in that nice stadium up there in San Francisco. So because he has horrible home road splits, a lot of home runs on the road, especially in Cincinnati, and obviously in Colorado, giving up 3. Kyle Hendricks is another guy. If his manager wasn't Joe Madden, I would like this guy, but for some reason Madden doesn't seem to let him go past 5-6 innings, no matter what the lead is or how many pitch count he's on. If that's just one of his things. Ben Zobrist, since he's been leading off, has been on fire. I think he's got like 2 home runs in the last 3 days since they put him up in the top up there. So guys like that obviously going to stay in the platoon. You're looking at the run totals. They don't have anything on Vegas, and it hasn't been like that the last couple of days. So we're doing these podcasts, but I feel like the game today, the Cubs came out real fast and then they died off. So it's an interesting with the wind and the 58 degrees. I mean, it's not a hitter's park, but the Cubs always have the ability to go deep. Like you mentioned before, it's a getaway game. So Posey might not be even in the lineup, so Hendricks might be a nice play, but he's still kind of expensive for me. I would rather at 8.5, I still would play with someone like Milarasco, which is cheaper to kind of save more bats. I think they probably have the same amount of points at the end of the day.
Let's move on to the Astros and the Tigers. Astros, Charlie Morton's a guy that I know a lot of people have been targeting for starting pitching. Definitely has the high K upside, a lot of swing and miss. And Vegas has an applied run total of 5.1 runs with the Houston Astros. with the Tigers, it's at 4 runs. It's Daniel Norris, a left-hander. Used to be anytime you saw a left-hander in Astros, you just circle Jose Altuve and put him in your lineup if you could fit the price tag. A lot of intriguing pieces here that can go yard, especially in that Tigers lineup. You love it when they face a lefty, but Morton's a right-hander. Houston is a heavy favorite, so I definitely see Charlie Morton in play. Carlos Correa got the day off today. Not sure what's going to happen with tomorrow, if it was an injury or if they were just giving him a day off. But give me your thoughts on these two lineups.
Today the Lance McCullough, I'm not sure how well he did, but everybody was targeting us.
Coasting, and they pulled him after 5 innings. I didn't see if his pitch count. I was coaching basketball this evening, so I was watching the numbers. I didn't see if his pitch count got so high or what the deal was. But he ends up getting the win. Let me see what happened here.
Yeah, I got it right here too.
Yeah, he had 96 pitches in 5 innings.
Wow. And he only generated 5 strikeouts too. So
give up 1 hit.
That's it. But again, I think Morton has a higher strikeout percentage too than McCullers. But either one, I think he's going to be very popular. The simple fact that it's an 8 o'clock game, I think most people aren't going to wait until the last game with Rich Hill. So,
yeah.
Miggy's always a guy to look at. JD Martinez didn't hit a home run today, so I don't know if the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but, he's always in play. He actually hasn't hit in the last 2 games, not including tonight. I don't know what he did tonight. Actually, he's 0 for his last 12, so he's probably going to hit a home run tomorrow, so he's due. But the Astros are always a team. I think last time we were on the pod, I talked about using them, and they just let you down. Like I said, they're that girl that you're so attracted to, and then you find out she has bad toenails or something, and she never always lets you down.
Herpes, but,
yeah, well, I wouldn't have went that far, but it's a family podcast. But you look at that lineup. I mean, Beltran, even though he's 40 years old, is still a capable hitter. And you're right. Whenever you see Altuve and a left-hander, you just automatically plug. But the thing is, I think Schimpf is a better play at his position against the right-hander than Altuve is.
Yeah.
The implied run total is 5.1 for them, but you're looking at a possible home run. I can't see Altuve hitting a home run tomorrow. But there he goes. He's probably gonna hit one now. I see.
Yeah, you spoil that.
Spoil that rumor. But the good thing about the Astros, you can stack the top of the lineup and the bottom of the lineup because all those guys have power down at the bottom. You could, a sneaky stack would be if you want that 5.1, you could go look at Gillarel. I think it's how you pronounce his name, but he hit a home run today. Marwin Gonzalez usually is capable of hitting 2 home runs, and Alex Bergman. Those guys are capable to go along.
And you think Houston's gonna be a popular stack?
Based off just looking at what we have, I think it might be. But the problem is, Sale is sitting so expensive. I don't know if you can afford a 5,000 Altuve, a 4,500 Correa. So stacking maybe the bottom half of the Astros.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say because isn't Gurriel and Bregman and a handful of those guys, they're pretty cheap.
Jake Mazurnik, who seems to always hit a home run when nobody plays him.
Yeah, so I mean that's the hard part. I was tinkering with it tonight and trying to see if I could work some magic with Clayton Kershaw, and I don't know. There has to be some really good value picks you like because if you're getting Kershaw, you're typically not getting anybody from the Diamondback game. If I'm going back to what was happening last night when I was plugging and playing, it's hard to stack without getting bottom of the lineup guys. And not to say there's anything wrong with it, but I know Arizona ended up with a value play at the top of the lineup for 2,200 because everybody was assuming Blanco was getting in and he got the night off. So, but other than that, I mean, it can be difficult. You might want to pick 1 or 2 decent bats, and then you're going cheapies the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of breezing through. I mean, the Cubs they've always had that weird lineup at the top. I don't see anybody less than Kiermaier. If they have Kiermaier at the second, batting second, he's 3.1. Obviously, going against Larasco, it's a good play for someone to put in there. Ben Gamel, 33. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's very difficult to find value guys at the top of the order. So If you're looking at playing Sale tomorrow, you're probably going to be playing, the bottom half. So.
Well, let's get to this last game, and then we'll talk about possible stacks and have a little fun with our game. But the Cardinals are at the Dodgers. Dodgers are 170 favorite, and Rich Hill was the darling last year. I loved him. I mean, you get the high strikeout upside on occasion, that curveball. He had his blister issues. You don't know if he's going to be a 5-inning guy, a 6-inning guy now, and facing the Cardinals lineup, which there's a lot of one-offs you like here. Actually, they actually got hot over the past couple weeks, but Mike Leake's another intriguing guy, but I don't know that I like right-handers against the Dodgers lineup. But give me your thoughts on the nightcap here between the Dodgers and the Cards.
Well, I can tell you right now, and I'm just looking ahead, and if I'm Dave Roberts, Clayton Kershaw pitched a complete game tonight. So Rich Hill's coming off the DL. He's been on the DL probably a couple of times since they've had him. I'd imagine he's going to go 5 innings, and I'm not going to pay $8.9K to pitch a guy that's going to go 5 innings. When, like I said, there's a lot of guys that are going to go deep, like in Alaska, or I'd even play Hendricks before I would play Rich Hill. But you're right though. I mean, he's got the curveball. He throws that 50% of the time, something like that, where he's going to generate strikeouts. The Cardinals. Obviously Clayton Kershaw showing down tonight, but you always have Fowler, Piscotty, Carpenter.
Even though it's lefty.
Yeah, even though it's lefty, Carpenter's still gonna rake. So they're typically better against right-handers, but it's an interesting match. I wouldn't recommend Rich Hill unless you look at Twitter and they say he's gonna pitch 100 pitchers, which it'd be something amazing. As far as the Dodgers bats, Grandal went deep. I think he was on one of my final lists when I was making the dong detector today, and I just didn't have time to write him up. But he went deep. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Logan Forsett came back tonight. But Mike Leake is one of those pitchers that just gets the job done. He's almost turning into like a Wainwright for them. Mm-hmm. He can give up home runs, but he's going to pitch a lot of innings. He's almost like another Alaska where you don't like watching it, but like you have to keep looking at it. He's the train wreck that you just.
Well, it's just funny because I just went back and I was perusing through the pitching for tomorrow night, and we mentioned Severino, Roark. If you're feeling frisky, it's Chris Sale. Obviously, everybody's going to be on him. Yeah. And then we looked at the Angels game and talked about the pitching sides being somewhat intriguing. There's rain in the Braves game, but I don't look to target either one of those pitchers. The wind blowing in at Wrigley, that's something maybe you find some value there. I don't. You have to wait until tomorrow and see. But there's not and Charlie Morton, I think, is going to be super popular as well. Other than that, I just wonder how many guys are going to take chances on Daniel Norris of the Tigers or any one of these young guys that we were just talking about. It's an odd night for pitching.
Yeah, Norris. We really hit on him, but he had 8 strikeouts against the Rangers, and comparable to the Rangers, I think they're the same pretty much as the Astros. They're that team that has a lot of power and they're going to strike out a lot. So,
but they have more lefties though, right? We were talking about the Rangers.
Obviously, the lefty matchups, but you're still going to get an opportunity to strike out. So,
right.
But I was going to go back to Mike Leake. The Dodgers have a really good home run BVP, if that's a thing, but they have a team total based off of who's on the lineup now of less than 200, like actually a 170 batting average against him. So it looks like, like I said, he's going to either strike him out or get ground balls, or they're going to hit home runs off of him. Like Utley has 2 home runs off of him. Corey Seager has a home run and only 2 at bats, which you really can't, or 10 at bats, but he only has 2 hits against them. So it's if you're going to stack the Dodgers, which most people are going to be like, oh, Mike Leake, I don't know if that's a great idea because you're chasing just the home runs. But
yeah,
like you were mentioning, going back to the slate, Andrew McCutchen has great BVP. He hasn't done anything, so he's going to be a very popular guy for the BVP guys. And then the other guy that popped out was Ricky Weeks, which is weird because Alaska's a right-hander. You typically wouldn't play Ricky Weeks against left-handers. So who knows if I'm drawing a blank with the coach's name, if he realizes and what looks at statistics like that. But
Cash.
Yeah, Cash. Yeah, he used to actually play too in Major League Baseball. But He's got a 458 in 25 at bats against Ricky Nolasco, which Ricky Leaks does. 2 home runs, which that's interesting. So, and then the rest of the guys you don't really have anybody on the rest of the slate that has great BVP. So, but you're right. I mean, Chris Sale's the guy. And then you just got to figure out what bat fits, because I can't imagine people stacking up the Astros. It means the national big bats. You're gonna have to use guys like Worth, who's really cheap. Weeders. The Mets are another one that probably will be very popular. They have a lot of cheap guys. Not that lower than 4K.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the Yankees stack too. That could be another possibility if you're looking at stacks as well.
Yeah, I mean, Judge is 5K. I'm looking at DraftKings, but Gardner. So as we're doing this podcast, the site we're looking at generates even more. It looks like Brett Gardner. Some of his trends are very high. He's actually had a hard hit percentage that has increased over the last 15 days, as well as
Yeah, I'm just wondering, looking at things, if I know people, and this is the contrarian in me when I see, for example, the Orioles lost the first 2 at home, and they get the Twins tomorrow, but it's an afternoon game. But the night game where the same thing's going on, it's the Phillies against the Rockies. We talked about it earlier. I'm just wondering if I'm going to throw together some sneaky stack against Tyler Chatwood with Phillies bats. But that's just me being contrarian, thinking that teams don't typically get swept at home, especially good teams. I know the Phillies aren't a good team, but God, their bats have been sleeping. They've been getting knocked around left and right. Did we lose you? I think we lost Scotty. We got frozen. All right. Well, we got plenty of other stuff. Typically, we would play our game, so I'm trying to give him some time to get back in here as we waiting on the dong detector, and he's coming back here.
Yeah, the weathers must be bad here, so keep an eye on that tomorrow.
No, but I was just talking about a Philly stack. Just saying, it's a contrarian in me, and I do this all the time where I'll get into a small tournament as a GPP play and try to play something that's ultra contrarian, and not even – I don't expect the Phillies to be ultra contrarian on a smaller slate, but the fact that they lost 2 at home already and hoping that their bats would bounce back, and that's the gambler to me, looking at trends and kind of hoping that things go the opposite way, but I don't know.
Yeah, I did that tonight with the Pirates, facing obviously R.A. Dickey, thinking that guys like Bell and McCutchen, and the one thing that I try to I make these dog detector picks, and I obviously want to be as transparent as possible. I'm not just putting these guys' names out there for the heck of writing about Josh Bell and how great his his WOBA is. I actually play these guys, so a lot of times I eat the loss just like the people that do read it. So, but yeah, I was on the Pirates. The Nationals, I don't know why I didn't select the Nationals with the Mets. They fit perfectly too. And
Rendon was the guy with the 2 dongs.
Yeah, and I had him in there too at third base too.
I had him in it and switched him out in my stack because I thought I had something better at third base. I didn't, when you're looking at the matchups and I was tinkering between, I think, third and catcher, and just saying, all right, you know what, I'll just punt at catcher and I'll take a better third baseman instead of paying up for catcher. It was just a stupid thing I did, but you say it's stupid after the fact because Rendon hit 2 bombs. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 2 guys that had my dong detector at third base, Gallo and Lamb, both hit home runs, so it kind of worked out.
Did you say you have Moustakas too?
I had Moustakas yesterday, so that's what I was talking about, Daily.
Yeah.
So yeah, another third baseman that hit home runs too. It seems like whenever the certain position hits home runs, like 2 days ago, it was the second baseman that hit all the home runs. Kipnis hit a home run. Phillips hit home runs. There was a couple of them. It seems like that one position kind of stays, so it kind of keeps everybody together. But
yeah, good old Edwin Encarnacion getting off the spot too.
He was on the dong detector 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But so I know we usually attack the stacks here. I think we're at about 40 minutes into this podcast. Yeah. So if you fast forwarded to this part, this is probably where we're going to look at the stacks. And obviously the first one we looked at was the New York Yankees. I think that's maybe where I'm going to go tomorrow. I think just the fact that they're due, and we just talked about the Philadelphia Phillies, but I think the Yankees are due. And then I think if I'm going to go like off the wall contrarian, I'm going to go Seattle tomorrow. And I say that's not really off the wall contrarian because they didn't do anything tonight. But I just been watching Rourke, and he hasn't looked the same. I think he's going to be end up on the DL probably here. Just got to give him a break and give him that break. So I've been noticing his teams are giving these 10-day kind of just got to get their heads straight. And
Well, they use it, especially with starting pitchers when it comes.
Oh, yeah.
They miss one start essentially, and then we talk about it all the time. The new 10-day DL it's great for managers that are trying to give guys an opportunity just to clear their head a little bit, or if they have something that's barking slightly, they don't have to try to pitch through it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't. Yeah, because I wouldn't imagine. You know, they got Ross. Ross pitched a hell of a game today, so I think they got his confidence back, hopefully, and they'll probably give Rourke out there today. And you know, if he doesn't do anything, he'll probably hit the DL.
All right, well, let's play our little game, and then we'll get out of here. You know, we always pick two batters. We just go back and forth. I'll let you get the wheel this time and loop around. I think you got first pick last time. Part of me wants to take Jose Altuve with my first pick a bit earlier, but I'm going to stay away from it. I'm going to go with the big bat in New York, and I'll take Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a D move there for me, but so no, the guy I mentioned him first on the podcast. I'm going to ride him probably tomorrow too. Is Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah,
and the other guy I'm gonna hedge that bet is go with Brett Gardner.
Yeah, Brett Gardner's another one. I mean, it's been a bunch of hot bats. You know, sit here and talk about it. You know, we got a rookie, and I don't know too much about him in Seattle, but I know Daniel Murphy makes a ton of contact. I know the wind's blowing in, but I'll take my chances with Daniel Murphy, left-handed bat against Sam Gaviglio, whatever it is.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. Those are our picks. You have to check out the Dong Detector. Get on that sheet squad. Head over to DailyRotoSharks.com. Check it out. They still have the $2 sheets per day and all the great deals going on since they're a quarter of the way through the season. And the sheets have been hot all this week. I've been seeing more and more posts of guys, especially in our little chat group, sending how well they're doing in their tournaments, a couple of big winners. So good luck tomorrow, Scotty. Get some sleep, and we'll be talking to you again here real soon.
All right, thanks. Take care. Good luck, everyone.